Conversation. Really excited to have you back with us this morning. We got a very special guest back again. This time visiting is Andy Robinson. He's going to be joining us for the conversation this morning. He's got a great program to walk us through. But what we typically do is give everybody a minute here to get logged in and start sharing who's out there. So let us know who we have this morning, where you're at, and we'll kick this thing off in a minute or so. Good to see you, Scott. Welcome back. I always love seeing that smiling face in the morning. Thank you for that. And while people are coming on, I just want to remind everybody that we're working hard developing this LinkedIn group page that we've talked about. We've had a few people send in information and want to sign up, and we started building that out. So if you're interested in being part, hey, Robin, if you're interested in being part of this group ongoing, our whole context around this concept for this is really to build a network of leaders. Lake George, New York, with local IQ. Nikki, good to see you this morning. And hey, Stephanie, yeah, I bet it's beautiful there this morning. Hey, Bill. And
thank you, Bill.
Welcomes you back, Andy. Kat, good to see you this morning. Love seeing everybody rolling in. This is great. Virginia, great seeing you this morning. Lori, hello. Good call last night. Carrie, awesome. Tallahassee, beautiful Tallahassee. Southern Georgia, the top of Florida. Love it. Good to see you, Carrie. But Lori, good to see you. We're building out, I know it's beautiful Sarasota. Hey, Melissa, Beretta, how you doing? Where you at? Decatur, Alabama. Wow, love this. Love Decatur. Been through there many times. Caroline, good to see you. Rebecca, good to see you. St. Petersburg, I'll be there next week. Okay, we're going to jump in, but back to that LinkedIn page. Hey, Kristen. Hey, Nicole. Everybody keep coming in. We appreciate it. Palm Beach, love it. My old colleagues over there. Dave, good morning. So good group this morning. Love it. So remember the LinkedIn page. We do have the email I mentioned set up, LC squared, LC2 at floridapress.com. That's where you can send your request to be part of that group. Like we said, we're building an ecosystem of leaders. We're going to have that a dialogue there. Andy's going to join me. Others are going to join there. We're going to put information out there as we feel, as we come across things we feel you would benefit from. We want to just continue the dialogue through this program, through the annual meeting in Ponte Vedra for Florida Press at the end of the year, and our Capstone project. Just keep this conversation going, and we're really excited about it. We're building quite a network of leaders. So Andy's back with us this morning. If you remember, hey, Robin, hey, Karen, keep coming in. If you remember, Andy was with us a few weeks ago now, I guess, and he talked about MVAs, your most valuable activities. We all got a lot out of that. And today he's come back to talk about a topic that's near and dear to him. He spoke on it several times in groups I've been in. He and I've collaborated around it. It's the concept of VUCA. And I'm going to let him explain that to you. But as we come out of a lot of leadership principle conversation, we've gotten through change and how you become a change agent. You're managing, but also driving change for the betterment of your organization. We talk a little bit about self-care in that, how you need to start with changing yourself. And you remember, I put myself out there, Andy. I told him I got to lose weight, and I told him my goal, and I want everybody to know right now I'm on track. It's been right. Some days are better than others, but I said, this is my accountability group, and hey, Huck, and that's where we are. So, Andy, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to stay on with Andy. We're going to have a little dialogue, but he's got a really important topic to cover this morning. I want to give the stage to him. Welcome, Andy.
Bill, thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. Great to see you all again. It's a pleasure being back, and I appreciate this opportunity. There's a word that I want to talk about today, and I'm going to come back to that word in a minute, but I want to tell you where that word came from and how it got into my vernacular and it got into my coaching practice. I'm an executive coach. I've been doing that for 27 years. In April of 2020, as we were really just getting into the pandemic, there was a group of about 120 executive coaches from around the world that came together in a consortium, an online consortium, that was put together by two thought-leading executive coaches out of California, one of whom runs the executive coaching for Google. And what we were doing back in April of 2020 was asking ourselves, what's about to happen here to our profession? And can we take our profession and help these leaders that are about to face something that they've never faced before deal with this and navigate through this effectively. And this was a 6-month process where we came together 3 times a month talking about what can we do as coaches to help our leaders perform without a roadmap for where we're going, because nobody had experienced the pandemic that had just kicked off. How can we help them navigate through that? As we began that conversation, a word was introduced to us by one of the thought leader coaches that were part of the program, and that word is VUCA, VUCA. And VUCA is an acronym, and VUCA has entered the vernacular of business. There have been several Wall Street Journal articles on this topic. VUCA is an acronym. V is for volatility. And when you think about the market, think about prices, inflation, what's going on, the up and down. That's the V element of VUCA. U is uncertainty. When we entered the pandemic, there was a lot of uncertainty. There was a lot of fear. There was a lot of unknown. C is complexity. Complexity as opposed to complicated. Complicated is there's a lot of pieces and parts, but we know how they fit together. And there's an instruction manual that we could follow to make it work. Complexity is it's all of that, but we don't have all the pieces. We don't even know what all the pieces are, and we're not even sure how they fit together. So complexity is part of the world that we're in. And then ambiguity. Things are unclear. There's multiple ways of looking at things. So when you think about those 4 words, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, all happening at the same time, that is the world that we entered when the pandemic started. It was actually the world that we were in before the pandemic, but it became very extreme in terms of how it felt in April 2020. And we are still in a VUCA world. The pandemic issues have ebbed a little, but now we've got the Ukraine-Russian issue, the supply chain issues, disruptive technology. VUCA is the new normal. What that means as leaders and what that means as individuals is we've got to figure out not just how to survive in this VUCA world that's going to be a part of us indefinitely, but how we thrive in that world. And part of what we did as coaches that came together from all over the world, literally India, every continent was represented. What can we take away? What are some things that we can bring into the equation of our coaching work to help our clients live and thrive in this VUCA world? And I took out of that 7 commitments that are new ways of thinking, that are new ways of being the person that we are, the leader that we are, the husband, the wife, the brother, the friend that we are, and a means for cultivating resiliency. Resiliency is about dealing with something and bouncing back higher than where you were before. So new ways of thinking, being, and resiliency. And I want to offer those within the frame of 7 personal commitments that I have made and that I work with my clients to instill in their work life. One of the reasons that I love this topic is I usually get good outcome in terms of feedback that I get that people have done things in follow-up. But it's a reminder for me every time I talk about VUCA and every time I talk about thriving in a VUCA world, it's a reminder to me of these commitments because they're all a work in progress and they're all something that I need to continue to be aware of. But I want to go through them one by one. They're not in any particular order. Commitment number 1 is looking for and talking about the good. That's training your mind to see the good in everything. Is shifting for things that happen to me to things that happen for me. Looking at what's happening as a benefit. What can I learn out of this? What can I do differently? What relationship can I strengthen? There's always a nugget of good, regardless of what's going on. You look at any bad point in your life or bad experience, and I guarantee you there's something good that changed you or that helped you become a better person or something in your life to improve coming out of that. So looking for and talking about the good as a standard practice and as a way of thinking. Number one. Number two is being intentional about what you consume. And I'm talking about consumption in the broad frame of that definition. Consumption in terms of what you watch, what you listen to, what you read, what you think about, and who you hang around with. Making intentional decisions about what you choose to consume and eliminating those things that don't drive positive energy for you. Taking those things out of your life. No longer reading those things that bring you down. We always know after watching something, after listening to something, whether or not it's good for us. The barometer is how do we feel based upon what we just heard or read. And if we don't feel good, let's move away from this. And this is moving from I can't listen to this to I don't listen to this. I can't is abdicating your power. I don't is empowering to you. It's the choice that you make. So being more intentional about what you let in your life in terms of things that you read, watch, or think about. Number three, very important in this world that we're in, and more important than it's ever been before, and that's connecting with each other's meaningfully. Making sure that those people in your life understand that you care about them. At work, that's getting to know the person, the human behind the role, whether it's a peer or a direct report or a manager. In your personal life, it's getting to know your friends. It's spending more time with your friends and more time with your family. You can't be compassionate and you can't express empathy if you don't understand the person. So it all begins with understanding the person, getting to know them, building that relationship. We're social creatures. We thrive on relationships. It's taking that circle of individuals around you, work-wise and outside of work, and developing and strengthening your relationships by spending more time and getting to know the people underneath you, around you, and above you in a more meaningful way. That's commitment number three.
Andy, let me jump in there real quick, Andy. So everybody on chat, as Andy's going through these, ask questions too. Let's make it conversational. If there's things that strike you as, yes, I like that. That means a lot. Chat it up. I'll observe chat, and Andy will throw in questions if they pop up.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. Yeah, and please, I'll be glad to pause and address any comment or question that any of you choose to put in chat. Number four is seeking and embracing better ways of doing things. I love this quote by Charles Darwin. It's not the strongest or most intelligent who will survive, but those who can best manage change. It's looking for better ways of doing things. I've watched client after client after client over the past 2 years pivot and make adjustments and improve their business in ways that they would never have thought of but for the event of the pandemic. And this is just recognizing, because we're in this VUCA world, things are constantly changing. We've got to stay ahead of change. We've got to be aware of what needs to happen if something happens in the future and deal with that proactively, looking for it, talking about it. How can we, even if it's 1% better or 2% better, looking for ways to improve. And that's cultivating the skills of creativity, cultivating the skill of self-confidence, curiosity, recognizing that your answer or your idea isn't always the best idea, and most of the times it isn't. Usually the best idea is a collection of input. It's asking questions, seeking that input because you're curious. And then ingenuity. And ingenuity is creativity with constraints. You've got this that you've got. How can you use that to be effective? So embracing better ways of doing things. Make that just a part of the way that you think about things. Can this meeting be improved? Can this relationship be improved? Can this process be improved? Even if it's only by 5%. That's number four. Number five is a new word that I'm beginning to use. And in fact, I'm building a curriculum around this topic. It's leading with compassionate accountability. Two words together that are almost paradoxical: compassion and accountable. I call it leading with a soft heart and a steel spine. It's both and at the same time. Setting clear expectations, but recognizing the person behind the expectations may need some support, may need some tools, may need some information, may need some knowledge, may need some training. Is being, again, paradoxically, both demanding and supportive at the same time. Being crystal clear on what you want and what needs to happen, but supporting the person underneath it to achieve whatever that goal is. So leading with compassion and accountability. It's not authoritative. It's collectively working together on whatever those expectations are so that they can be achieved and so that you can lead successfully. That's number 5. Number 6 is a big one, and it's a foundational element of Stoic philosophy, which I'm a big fan of and follower of, focusing on what you can control. If you picture a target with 3 circles with a bullseye in the middle that's red, and then maybe a yellow ring around that and a green ring around the inside, the red bullseye represents the things that you can control. It's in the middle and it's smaller because there's fewer of those things than you can control. Right outside of what you can control is what you can influence. I can't completely control it, but I have some influence on it. Out in the big circle, which is just about everything, 90%, 99% of the things that are out there are things that you cannot control. And what this commitment is all about is focusing on what you can control. You can control how you respond to something. You can control what you consume. You can control who you hang around with. You can control the decisions that you make. You can control how you spend your time. You can't control the weather. You can't control wars in Eastern Europe. You can't control supply chain issues. Maybe there's something that you can do to influence them, but you can't control them. This philosophy is about thinking about what you can control and not worrying about the other things, letting go of the other things. It's not that you don't want to be aware of them, but recognizing, why am I spending time noodling over something that I can't control? Focus your time and effort. Your most valuable activities should be focused on things that you can control.
Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said.
Number 7 is practice extreme self-care. Practicing extreme self-care, the metaphor there is putting your oxygen mask on before you put it on to your child. We see that every time we get on an airplane. This is taking care of the person that you are and making sure that you bring the best version of yourself into the meeting, into the room, into the conversation, into wherever you are. The quality of your life is a function of the quality of your habits. And I'm offering this as practicing some extreme self-care habits. For me, in the morning, it's getting up, spending the first hour meditating, practicing yoga, getting my exercise done, reading inspirational material, writing in my gratitude journal, and saying my prayers. I can check those boxes off. I've got 7 wins. I can enter the day feeling in control, feeling a sense of calm, and ready to go with high energy. Whatever that means for you, good eating, exercise, relationships, practicing extreme self-care. So the 7, real quickly summarized: look for and talk about the good, being intentional about what you choose to consume, connect with others meaningfully, embrace better ways of doing things, lead with compassionate accountability, focus on what you can control, and then practice extreme self-care. Take those commitments or some combination of those commitments and bring them into your life. And I guarantee your ability to not just survive in this VUCA world that's going to be a continuing part of who we are and what we experience, but you can thrive in that world going forward.
So, Andy, the chat lit up. I didn't want to interrupt you because I can't believe how fast 20 minutes goes by. It's really crazy, right? But I think we had some really good points to make. Nikki mentioned energy in equals energy out. She loved that, but also the importance of balance, right? Between being informed and not overwhelmed. But a lot of people concur with that. Melissa talked about, it's really important to be informed, but raise the giveaway power. I think that's pretty awesome. And Beretta mentioned that in a one-on-one, he found out one of his colleagues had not received a lot of praise from their parents. And that kind of informed him as it relates to interactions with her. And Carrie brought up a solid point, too, of what she's understood over time is when she lets go of those things she can't control, it helps her let go, and move on to the more positives, back to the most important activities. Caroline talked about they're going to listen to this. There's a lot of even great life advice in this, not just business advice. And Nicole mentioned accountability is key, and we can expect it while still being supportive and compassionate. Kind of my takeaway today, Andy, when you wrap all that up, is really a good wraparound program to what we've been talking about. It brought in perspective. It brought in intentionality. It brought in connections as it relates to relationships, continuous improvement, being curious in life, around that state of betterment. I love compassion, that accountability, because we do have to understand people are at different places, meet those people where they are, right?
Yes.
And then roll. And then the controllables, how we spend our time and everything, that obviously care and self-care being combined is really, really important. Really appreciate you being here. I thought today, Beretta Taylor, you have won the book Essentialism. For those that have heard us talk about this, just get Jim, hit your information, and he'll get you that book. But Essentialism is a book that Andy and I both believe a lot in. It gets down to the essence of those things that matter most. It helps us edit out those activities that aren't as important. And we ran over a couple of minutes this morning, but Andy, thank you so much. This is time well spent. Really appreciate all the interaction and everybody being engaged. And we're going to have Andy back for others. And so stay tuned for that. And just appreciate everybody being here. So my message to everyone is have a great week. Andy, thank you, and lead on.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, everyone. Great to be here again.